They called me useless. Not in private. Not as a joke. At a full family dinner table. My father raised his glass and said, "At least one of my children is successful." Everyone clapped for my brother. Daniel. The CEO. The golden son. The future of the company. And then he looked at me. And then there's her. Still trying to figure life out. The table laughed. Even my aunt. Even my cousin who once asked me for money. I smiled. Because reacting would have made me emotional. And being emotional was my family's favorite accusation. What none of them knew was that I had already figured life out. I just didn't do it loudly. 3 years ago, when my father's tech company started losing investors, Daniel became CEO. It was supposed to be a fresh start. Young blood. New energy. Instead, he nearly destroyed everything. Risky expansions. Ego decisions. Ignoring compliance warnings. But whenever I tried to speak in meetings, I was told, "You don't understand leadership." I have a law degree. And an MBA. From schools my father proudly mentions when it's convenient. But somehow, I was still useless. That dinner night, Daniel leaned back in his chair and said, "Maybe you should just marry rich. That might be your best strategy." More laughter. I looked around the table. I memorized their faces. Because I knew something they didn't. 2 months earlier, the board had called me privately. Not because they liked me. Because they were scared. The company was under investigation for regulatory violations. Documents had been ignored. Compliance reports buried. And guess whose signature was on those approvals? Daniel's. As majority independent board member and legal advisor, yes, quietly appointed last year, I had authority. Authority they assumed I'd never use. The board gave Daniel a chance to fix it. He didn't. Instead, he blamed internal miscommunication. That dinner was just arrogance overflowing. When dessert was served, my father said, "Let's make a toast to real success." I stood up. Calmly. "I agree," I said. Silence fell. I pulled an envelope from my bag. Not dramatically. Just deliberately. "I've been meaning to give you this, Daniel." He smirked. "What is it? A resume?" A few cousins laughed again. He opened it. And the smirk disappeared. It was an official board resolution. Signed. Approved. Effective immediately. CEO termination due to breach of fiduciary duty. You could hear forks drop. My father stood up so fast his chair scraped the floor. "What is this?" he demanded. "It's corporate governance," I replied. Daniel's face turned pale. "You can't do this." I already did. The room felt smaller. My aunt whispered, "This is a joke, right?" I looked at my father. No. What was a joke was calling me useless while I was the only one protecting this company from collapsing. He tried to speak, but words didn't come. I continued. The investigation results are clear. Regulatory fines would have bankrupted us. Investors were preparing to pull out. The board voted unanimously. Daniel looked at my father. "You knew?" My father didn't. Because for the first time, he wasn't the most informed person in the room. "I didn't want it to happen like this," I said honestly. But leadership isn't about ego. It's about responsibility. Daniel's voice cracked. You planned this. No, I said softly. You did. When you ignored every warning. The silence wasn't laughter anymore. It was shock. The same relatives who mocked me minutes ago avoided eye contact. My father finally said, "You embarrassed him in front of family." I met his eyes. You embarrassed me first. That night, I didn't storm out. I didn't cry. I simply walked away from the table knowing something had shifted permanently. The next morning, news spread internally. Investors responded positively. Stock stabilized. The company didn't collapse. It recovered. Daniel sent me a message later. You ruined my life. I didn't reply. Because I didn't ruin anything. I just signed the papers he forced me to prepare. At the next family gathering, no one called me useless. No one made jokes about marriage. No one laughed. They spoke carefully. Respectfully. And my father? He introduced me differently. This is my daughter. She's on the board. Not useless anymore. Just powerful. And the funny thing is, I never needed their applause. Only their signatures.